Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mental Mettle Coaching. This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, where we explore how to forge mental toughness and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome, I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann. I'm an ICF certified professional coach with a background as a teacher, basketball coach, and athletic director. But my journey took a dramatic turn in 2020 when I survived both cancer and a stroke. Those experiences shaped my mission, help others grow stronger in every facet of life. Today, I work with athletes, coaches, educators, and anyone who believes that positive mental health is both achievable and a personal responsibility. This podcast is dedicated to helping listeners develop a positive version of toughness, one rooted in resilience, focus, and growth. Whether you're looking to excel on the field, in the classroom, or in life, this is your space to learn, grow, and take action. Join me on this journey, and together, let's forge your mettle. So, athletics, playing sports, being an athlete, being a parent of an athlete, being a coach of an athlete, it's supposed to be hard. That's the whole point. And that's kind of the conversation. That's the message I want to give today is we have to be able to change our mindset around adversity. And we're going to talk about it. It's a topic of mine that it's near and dear to my heart, how we need to face adversity for the good and how to use it the right way. And I'm going to talk about adversity in athletics, and I'm going to talk about the right mindset for an athlete, the right mindset for a parent, and the right mindset for a coach around it. And that's the first line is like, it's supposed to be hard. Do not get past that. Like, the whole point of athletics is that it's supposed to be difficult. And quite honestly, let's make sure we understand this. This is what makes it great. Otherwise, it wouldn't be any fun to win if it wasn't hard. It's kind of the point. And I like that because my business is Mental Mettle Coaching, and the word mettle is all about that adversity. So mettle is described as the ability to face adversity in a spirited, resilient, positive way. It's not about survival. It's not about surviving adversity. It's about responding to it in a positive way. That can be difficult. That's a mindset that takes work. The one big distinction I want to make here. So I run a business that's about mental performance in athletics. And it dawned on me the other day that I think if I ask most people, well, what's the point of my business? They would say, well, you help athletes create mettle so they can excel at their sport. It's not incorrect, but it really misses the major point. It's the flip side. It's using sports as the adversity to create mettle that they will have for the rest of their life. That's a different way to look at it, okay?
The first way to look at it is the end goal is I want to develop this mental toughness, this mettle, so that I can win games. And it can help you do that. But I'm saying use the games, use the practice, use the adversity to create the mettle. You may not have the opportunity to win the games yet, but you can always create the mettle that's going to be useful for life. And that's kind of the idea here. We need to like change our thoughts on this, and that what if winning wasn't the goal? What if winning wasn't the destination? And instead of that being our goal was to build toughness and build positivity while we are performing. It's a different mindset. And if we thought about it that way, if like, hey, our goal wasn't winning, but our goal was to get tougher, it would change a lot of how we did it. And I've always been, I think I've always known this, but I've had a lot of health problems, a lot of changes to be able to become a mental performance coach. But I think I already knew this a little bit. I grew up, playing sports, being a farm kid, working hard. So work ethic was something that was instilled to me early on, even if I didn't really understand why. Even when I was done with sports, I picked up marathon running, when I was younger. And that's not it's a very low percentage of people that actually run a marathon. And that's part of why I did it, right? Like, let's be honest. I'm a type 3 Enneagram. I like challenges. I like to achieve things. I get that. But I think that looking back, I understand that how much it helped me build discipline, learn how to handle discomfort, persistence, have that, just again, looking forward to, on a Saturday, getting up and saying, I got a 20 miler to put in today, and kind of being excited about it. Not overly excited about it. I like some smaller runs better than that, but very easily saying, hey, I've got to get up this morning and do a 10K, and kind of being excited about that, knowing that that was going to make me feel good, and enjoying getting better at that. And I really think that helps me a lot as I started to have some health issues and battling cancer, overcoming the stroke, and having to learn how to talk again and write again and those things. I think that, having a background in athletics and having some of that mettle that I've developed over time, running and things like that, it really, it helps me, because I knew that I'd practiced and done hard things on purpose. It wasn't enough in the end, because I needed more. I needed it to be a little bit more purposeful and intentional. And I talk about that a lot when I go and talk with coaches in schools and stuff, that it just, it really wasn't quite enough. I had to learn some new tools rather than just do the hard thing. I had to learn how to find positivity. I think that was probably the big difference. Like, I did the hard things, but I wasn't really positive about it, and always wasn't really noticing the growth that I'd had. And I think that was a little bit of a struggle for me. So that's a change, but I know that it helped me. And in my own personal life now, since my strokes coming back, like I didn't, I kind of stopped running. Big guy, hard on my hips, just couldn't run like I used to as much. But I realized, it's been a few years ago, I was sitting on the couch and I'm like, man, I'm not doing anything hard enough. And I want to start having some experience doing hard things, because that helps me identify with my players and the people that I'm working with. So after I started my coaching business, I'm like, I got to start doing harder things. So at 47, I walked into a jujitsu gym, grabbed the white belt, and started learning jujitsu and getting my absolute butt kicked, just absolute whooped a lot. And it's not like I said, oh, I'm going to become, I'm not going to go a professional BJJ guy, or I'm not going to go be an MMA guy. That's not what it was. It was completely and 100% about choosing to put myself in a bad situation. I was never going to be the best. I'm still not the best. I will never be the best, right? I'm too old for that. I struggle a lot still. The young guys just give me a hard time, but it's hard. It's very difficult, but it was about me being able to handle the pressure, doing the hard thing on purpose, and getting better at it, and also seeing that growth and having that recognition of it. And so I knew that, and while I enjoy it. So yeah, it's hard. And there are days I go in and I get hurt, and it hurts, and it's no fun to get, you know, tapped out and choked out and those things. It's not, there's a lot of times it's not fun at all. But at the end of the day, I always would say, I really enjoyed it today. That's metal. That's practicing metal. And that's saying, taking that adversity and enjoying it and having fun. So I tell you this to say that I believe it and I understand it, and I want to do it. It's not something that I preach. I tell that all the time, that nothing I talk about in my talks on this show or anything there, none of it is theoretical to me. I practice it all. And that is, and I love to be able to still have some sort of an athletic pursuit, because I think, even though I'm far from young, I think the whole point of athletics, especially for young people, is that it's the like it's the last place that they can be wrong and they can fail. We slowly, our culture is taking these places, taking these challenges away from kids. Even, and I used to be an educator, and I get it, and I understand some of the stuff on like standards grading and stuff. There's a point to it, but we start to take away their places to fail, their places to struggle, and quite honestly, we need that. And sports are still this last bastion of, oh, you can show up and you can get really whooped if you're not ready, and you can get beat and you can actually lose. But the best part about that with athletics is it's done. You can lose in a safe space, in the sense that it's not the end of the world, and it's not. Okay, so if you're looking, we're going to get into that with the parents, but it's not the end of the world. It's real adversity. You actually lose. You actually fail. Somebody actually beats you. You have to deal with disappointment, but you have relatively safe consequences. Okay, losing a game is not the end of a relationship. Losing a game is not the end of a career. Missing a shot is not ruining your life. Okay, getting cut from a team or not making the team you want, it's survivable, right? It, it's adversity in a safe way. It is a practice way to face adversity, for the adversity that's coming in life. And you also get this immediate feedback, which I don't think we see enough of in our culture and our life, and for kids anymore, is you get to see what worked and what didn't. You get the chance to try it again. You get a chance to adjust. Okay. You can experience improvement. You can experience disappointment, all these things. And that's what I love about it, is that we are preparing kids to face the real adversity of life. And the more that they have this, and I love this, I love this idea, is the idea that if a kid does athletics, they face intentional adversity. That helps them prepare for mandatory adversity that is coming with life. And so long as we give kids enough adversity to develop the capacity, they start to grow, but not so much that the adversity overwhelms them. So that's kind of the trick. And we see that because we all know that, like, the sort of things you would do with like a sixth grade soccer practice is not the same level of intensity and adversity we would do for a college practice. It should not be. And the intelligent people, or the common sense people, know that it's not the same. In fact, anytime we see a movie, we'll get some, like, I'm thinking like a little Ted Lasso, when Roy goes down and coaches the little girls, and he's out there screaming at them and doing all these things. We know, and it's funny because we know that's too much too fast, right? So we have to stair step this adversity. Too much, if we have too little adversity, they really don't have the challenge, and they never really develop the skill. Too much adversity, and it's overwhelming, and they can't develop that potential. It's a struggle, but we got to find that appropriate amount of adversity for a kid. And we're going to get into that when I talk to the coaches here in a little bit. That's a real struggle for coaches, because not every kid's the same. even on the same age, right? Not every kid is different. That's a genetic thing. There's so many things. There's an experience thing. There's trauma things. There's so many things that affect that. It's not the same. Not every kid can handle the right amount of adversity. Some need more, some need less. Some of the best coaches I know understand this, and you can challenge a kid in one way that you can't challenge another one. There's so many things, and please understand, this is very important. It's something I tell coaches when I do my Ember to Inferno program. A coach has to get this right. It's a lot of pressure on a coach, because when we add too much stress, it's not that they may not do well, or they might end up quitting, which is a travesty in itself, because then they lose the opportunity to do all those good things I talked about. But the kid could stay in and keep absorbing all of this stress that is too much for their system, for their not immune system, but their nervous system. It could be too much, again, for a lot of reasons, not just because kids are soft these days. There's so many things going on, and it could start to have long-term effects on, if we have chronic activation of the sympathetic nervous system in an individual, it has long lasting problems in a kid. I talked about this on several episodes. It's a real problem, and kids and coaches need to understand that. Okay. So we've got to be able to find that. We got to find that spot for a coach, and we're going to talk about that, but understand that the adversity still has to exist. And that's kind of where we got to be. So I want to get into a little bit about like how I think each group should see adversity. So let's start with the athlete. First thing that I would tell an athlete, again, it's supposed to be hard. Okay. Understand that. I understand there's a lot of reasons that you might do sports. It's a community thing. You want to be there with your friends. It's fun, whatever. I get all that. But don't dishonor the sport, whatever sport it is. And I don't care what sport it is. Even if you want to argue with me and say that it's cheerleading or something and it's not a sport, I don't care. It's still hard. And that's the point. That's what I love about it. It's supposed to be hard. Even like I said, the cheer, the dance, things like that. You may not be competing against somebody else, but it's supposed to be hard. So I love that. I think it checks the box to me, stuff like that, so long as it's hard. And it's not that hard is automatically bad. Hard is actually good. That's why we do it. So don't, as you go in as the athlete, don't go in and say, well, why do we have to do this? Why does practice have to be so hard? Instead, what can I learn from this? What am I teaching myself doing this? What skills am I gaining by doing this? Now, I'm going to talk to the coaches here in a minute. Coaches do this wrong sometimes. You can't control that as the athlete, but it doesn't mean you can't grow from it. So even if your coach is doing some of the things wrong, you can still get better from it. All right. Also understand when you're going through the sport that you're building something better than the sport. It's not about winning. It's not about losing. It's really not even about playing time. It's not about stats. It's not about championships. Of course, we want those things. We want to win. We want to play. We want to win the games. We want to win the championship. Of course, it's competitive. You want to do it. But just know that that isn't as controllable as you want it to be, and it can still happen. But you can always be developing a life skill that can never change. Okay. So sometimes I would say that the team that loses more develops that life skill more than the team that wins everything if it's easy for them. All right. So it doesn't matter your record. It doesn't matter the situation. You are practicing how to deal with stress. You're dealing with how to learn how to deal with failure, how to stay composed, how to persevere, how to solve problems, how to keep forward, how to make progress, and how to be positive. Okay. The hard thing that you're doing today you may feel like it doesn't have anything to do with who you are going to be, but it does. It matters. So these hard things you're doing right now, they're cumulative. They start to build up. And then also the whole point is take pride in what you've overcome. All right. So confidence is confidence is evidence-based. So confidence is based in our ability to notice the things that we've done well. So if you spend your time, or if we spend our time being negative and thinking all we do is make mistakes, well, you're not going to be a very confident person because you're just focusing on the negative. Well, if you start to learn how to focus on the things you've done well, you start to build that confidence. And the more hard things you've done, the more opportunity you have to build that confidence because you're adding evidence. Every time that you say, I wanted to quit, but I didn't, that's an opportunity for you to build confidence. I was nervous, but I competed anyway. That's an opportunity for you to build confidence. I failed, but I came back. It's all there. And this is like, there's a whole lot of brain science behind it too, but every time that you do something hard that you really don't want to do, it gets easier for you. And you're literally building parts of your brain where you're actually better at facing hard things. So when we talk about mettle, the ability to face adversity in a positive way, you might think, well, that's just nonsense. Why would I enjoy doing something really hard? This sucks. This practice is awful. We're running a bunch. We're having to do all this. Coach is mad. Why would I enjoy that? Well, part of the reason you enjoy that is because if you get through it, you know the next time it's going to be easier. And you start to realize I can do hard things, and that is powerful, right? And you start to see yourself differently, and your brain starts to you don't just start to like automatically just start create, act differently. You're literally changing your brain the more that you do this. And that's something you've got to do as an athlete, is just change the way you're seeing it, and don't run from it. Understand the reason why you're doing it. That's not just about the sport, and just know that the harder you do something, the harder that something is to do, the more you have the ability to build some confidence. And that's huge.
Your athlete probably spends hours working on the specific skill set they need for their sport, and they probably spend hours in the weight room building their body. But how much time do they spend intentionally training their mind? Well, building mindset is the key to bridging the gap between the skills that we see and game execution. Well, Mental Mettle Coaching provides individual programs that can help your athlete develop this third and crucial skill set.
All right, so now let's talk about the parent's mindset. Now, most kids, especially we're talking about in the US, like athletics are starting really early. And it's hard to want to see your kids struggle and to come home and be upset and maybe even cry because they lose, or because they didn't get to play the spot they wanted or do thing. And it's really easy for us to say, well, everybody should get a trophy, and everybody should get this, and everybody should get that, and everything should be fair. Don't do that. Don't rescue your kid from every single adversity. Okay. Your instinct might be to, try to fix it all, call the coach, make the problem disappear, change teams, or do things that you make sure they never feel bad. But if you remove every obstacle, you're also removing every opportunity to develop a skill of overcoming obstacles, right? The new term is, the bulldozer parent that goes and removes every hurdle so everything's easy. Your kid is not going to be able to handle hard things in their life if you remove them from them. So start early. Now, listen, there's advocating for your kid when they've been wrong. I get that. I understand that. But most parents, you got to turn that dial down a little bit, right? Standing up for your kid needs to be something that is more the exception than the rule. So, don't confuse supporting your child with solving every problem for your child. That's different. So support, that's number one. The next one is like support the struggle without taking it away. So don't say that, that's just a hard thing, tough, you got to get over it. No, be beside them in it. Talk to them and say, well, what's hard? What are you crying about? What's upset? What's the problem? Understand it. Be honest about it and talk to them about it. and support them and say, hey, and tell them what we're doing. Hey, this is hard. Acknowledging it. This is hard. I know this is hard, but I know that you can do it. And help them through it. Well, what do you think we could do? What are you learning from this? What are you going to try to do next? Help them try to process it, recognize it as adversity, and then give them some confidence and support them. Be a cheerleader and tell them they can go get it and do better. That's going to help them out so much better. And then the third thing is kind of what I told them with the athlete is celebrate who they're becoming as they accomplish this, right? So this really makes sure that we don't really just talk about whether they win or lose. It's talking about, well, how did you respond when things got hard? And make sure that you're focusing on, I talk about this all the time, talk about those controllables when you talk to them. How was your attitude in the face of that adversity? How did you continue to communicate in the face of that adversity? How was your effort in the face of that adversity? That's the three things: your attitude, your communication, your effort, the ACE. Help them understand that this is what they need, and then celebrate when they do it. Less about whether or not they win or lose, because that's funny. It's easy. We say that and we're like, well, of course I want to win and lose. And it's so easy to have those conversations. But quite honestly, a kid can do everything. Kids winning can create bad habits, just like losing can kill good habits, if that makes sense. Right. So a kid could do everything wrong and still win just because it's kind of arbitrary at sometimes for a lot of reasons. And then they could do everything right and lose. And if our mindset, if our reaction is only about whether you win or lose, they're not building the thing that we need. So it's not about whether or not we win or lose. We just don't want to be trying to raise kids that are worried about winning and losing, because it's a made up game. Every one of them is a made up game that we just made up. But adversity is a real thing in life, and it's always going to be there. So we're going to be able to teach them to overcome and face adversity without worrying about who wins and loses. And that's a huge piece. And I understand how hard that is, but I think that part of this is you really have to let go of your own ego as a parent. And I know how difficult that is. Trust me, I do. I'm a parent. My kids played. I get getting rid of the ego, and it's how difficult that is. But it will win in time. As my kids are, at the end of their careers, my son's got a year left or so. I understand this now so much better. So the hindsight is better. That it's like, I know that my kids can face things and I know athletics are a huge part of that. They did not win every game, right? I wanted them to a lot of times, but they didn't. But I know that they learned how to face things, and it wasn't always fun, and it wasn't always good, and some of the things were really bad. But that was important. Okay, so those are the three things for the parent. Don't just rescue your kid from adversity. Instead, acknowledge the adversity and support them through it, and then also celebrate who they're becoming due to the adversity. So use the adversity for their own growth.
Welcome to Mental Mettle Coaching, where our mission is to help you learn to thrive in the face of adversity, not just survive it. We are passionate about empowering you to live, play, and work with a resilient and spirited mindset. Hi, I'm Matt Thomann. I'm an ICF professional coach and keynote speaker. My background as an athlete, basketball coach, teacher, and school administrator has equipped me with the insights that resonate deeply with the schools, teams, athletes, and coaches I work with. However, it's my personal journey through anxiety, cancer, and an ischemic stroke in 2020 that truly brings authenticity to my presentations. While learning to speak and write again, I also pursued and earned my ICF coaching certification. Now the practices I embrace are more than theoretical concepts. They're a way of life. Developing a positive mindset is within reach for all, but it requires self-awareness and the repetition of intentional activities. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we'll guide you, your staff, and your students on this transformative journey. Together, let's forge your mettle.
Now for the last one, the coach's mindset around adversity. Now, this one's a different one because I don't have to sit here and tell the coaches adversity is necessary. Coaches get this. And coaches kind of go the other way sometimes. Coaches are all about the adversity, and they don't necessarily, like I said before, you have to calibrate that adversity to go with each individual kid. It's so hard, especially, you get different ages, but you get into high school and some kids can handle it, some can't. It's really hard. And if you just go, same level of adversity for every kid, you are going to lose some, but then some don't get challenged as much. It's really hard. So then how does a coach do this? And I've got a few ideas on adversity that I think are really important on how a coach should, the mindset they should have around adversity. The first one, I think that adversity has to be purposeful and not punitive. A lot of us grew up in athletics and the adversity was punitive. Now, that adversity in a lot of times was considered like on the line and running more, right? So you make a mistake, you do something wrong, we're going to run more. Now, the argument for that was, well, we were using this, say a basketball coach would say, well, I know they're going to make mistakes, so I know two things. I know they're going to make mistakes, and I know that they need to get in better shape. So every time they make a mistake, then I'm just going to put them on the line and make them run. And then the idea being that they will remember not to make that mistake, and they're going to get in shape. That's the idea. Or the opposite is they become so nervous about making mistakes, they get anxious and they make mistakes more, and then they have to run more, and then you get into this very negative cycle. My thought is that you can do the same amount of training and the same amount of cardio and learning and have the kids be in on it and have it be purposeful. So don't have your hard drills, your running, your difficult, they shouldn't be based in revenge or humiliation or punishment or just because I said so. There should be a why. Here's why we're going to do this drill. We're going to get in and we're going to, and when we're done, if you feel like they aren't in good shape yet, then you say, hey, we need to get in better shape. So we're going to run for a while. We're going to do this. And here's why. Because when it comes to the fourth quarter, we get to the second half, we want to be in better shape. So we're going to do this. Instead of making it punitive, make it purposeful. And that's huge. It changes the mindset of an athlete. Instead of them thinking they're a failure, they're thinking that they're somebody who accomplished something, right? And that's a huge, so instead of having a victim mindset, they have a champion mindset. And that matters. It's huge. Having that adversity be purposeful is huge, right? The second one, as I've said before, calibrate that adversity. The idea here is for each kid is stretch, but don't snap. So the goal isn't necessarily maximum discomfort. The goal is productive discomfort. You've got to know your athletes. Recognize, what's an appropriate challenge for this kid or for this group of kids, and then watch how they respond. Okay. Are they struggling? We want them to struggle. We want the adversity, but are they still engaged? Do they still have the right attitude? And kids are going to respond differently in different ways, but are they consistently overwhelmed? Are they shutting down? Are they withdrawing? Are they, becoming anxious? Or they seem to be sick a lot, or just don't want to be here, or they don't want to stand up for themselves, or are they making bad decisions? A lot of these are different ways that kids don't know how to process that, or you haven't created the situation where they don't feel saying something to you, right? So they're going to respond and lash out in different ways. So you really have to notice, are they struggling, but are they still engaged? And again, if you're doing the first one there where you're making it purposeful, they're much more likely to be engaged. Now, the second one is why coaching is so really hard, because it requires you to know your kids really well and for you to have a really good relationship with them. One of my favorite things is the idea that the coaches I knew that were able to put their kids in the most adversity I've seen and have them stretch but not snap are the same coaches that show the same amount of love. So like coaches I knew that really loved their kids and were really connected with their kids could push them so much more because of that relationships that they had. And that to me, that's the best coaches. So if you have a coach that's got a high level of love and connection, they have a high level of adversity that they can put their kids through. If we do the opposite, so we got the high level of love and connection, but very, very low level of adversity, well, then you're just handing out orange slices and you're not going to win anything, right? And then the other way is, for those of you that are not on YouTube, I'm doing things with my hands here that you might want to see. But if we do the opposite and we have a very high level of adversity that we put our kids through, and then very, very low level of connection, that's not going to work well. This is how you get programs that people don't want to play. And post-COVID especially, this is one of the major things that I see. Like when that is going on, kids just don't play. They just don't show up. They'll do something else. There's so many options for kids now. So if that adversity is way too high and there's no love or support from the coach, they'll just be like, I'm out. I'm not going to do this. And then I think the third thing is just continue to, it's kind of similar to the first one, just continue to use the adversity to teach. Okay. Don't make the adversity about paying for a mistake. Make the mistake the beginning of the lesson. All right. So instead of saying, oh, well, you screwed up, now we're going to go suffer, it becomes you screwed up, now let's learn how to respond. These are all positive responses instead of negative. And trust me, you can do the same thing. You can accomplish the same things. They can get in the same shape. They can do all these things from you being positive as negative. If you want to look back, there's one episode in particular. I don't remember the name. I have Lori Kearns, just phenomenal coach from Millikan University, won a national championship. And she was phenomenal about this. Her girls worked like crazy. She put them through a lot, but it was always done in this positive way and used this adversity to teach and not to punish. And that was, I learned a lot from her. She did really good. Just always celebrated when she put adversity in front of them and then celebrated when they overcome it. She didn't wait for a mistake to happen and then put the adversity as a punishment. And that's huge, right? Because when we're trying to build mettle, we're trying to build a positive response to adversity. And that's what we're trying to do. So that kind of brings us all together. So hopefully you've gotten, whether you're a player or a parent or a coach, or if you're a combination of those, you should have some ideas and just how to handle that adversity. And just remember that that's the point. Okay. And know that sports aren't ultimately about sports. The wins disappear, the losses disappear. Nobody cares. Very, very few people are going to remember all those things. It just doesn't matter. But what stays is what lasts for a long time for your individual own growth is how you respond to failure, how you handle stress, how you keep going, how you remain positive in difficult situations, and whether or not, this is huge, whether or not you can face something hard without running from it. And that's what's hard about this. Whenever we don't do it right and kids want to leave the sport, they're just missing the opportunity to face hard things and get better at it. And the more you get used to giving up on something hard, the easier it is. And it's just not a good recipe for the rest of your life. So just remember that it's supposed to be hard. That's the point. Not because we want to see kids suffer. And not because that all adversity is inherently good. But it's because learning how to face adversity is one of the most important things we can teach a young person. That's the point. That's the goal. And athletics, again, it's like the last place that we can do that with a kid. And that's what I want them to do. So I remember that the reason I have this business is because I want people to see athletics as a place to create metal, not the other way around, not so that they can create metal so they're better at sports. Okay. We don't use adversity to create better athletes. We use athletics to make better people. And that's what we're really trying to do. So, from my own personal experience, but it's not just me, everybody knows this. And this isn't a negative. I'm not trying to be a pessimist here, but eventually life's going to get hard. Whether or not that's supposed to be hard or not, I don't know, but life's going to be hard. And our job isn't to make sure that kids never experience adversity. Our job is to help them be the kind of people who can face adversity when it comes. And in order to do that, we have to have the right mindset around adversity. And that's what I want you to take from today, whether you're the parent, whether you're the athlete, whether you're the coach, is it's supposed to be hard. I know that's the situation. I need to have the best mindset possible around adversity. So thank you so much for listening to me today. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and hopefully I connected with you. But for now, we're out of time. This has been the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann, and always remember to forge your metal. Thanks for listening to the Mental Mettle Podcast. Don't forget to tune in every week for more insights and strategies to help you forge mental toughness and resilience. This podcast is brought to you by Mental Mettle Coaching, where we are driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that empowers others to play, live, and grow with confidence. Our mission is to instill a resilient and spirited mindset in our clients, enabling them to confidently face adversity and actively seek new challenges for personal growth. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we offer individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses. Whether you're an athlete, educator, or professional, we're here to help you unlock your potential and thrive in every area of life. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and always remember to forge your metal.